Okay, welcome to Guardian Academy Foundations. This is number 0, the shortcut. Give everybody right out of the gate the shortcut. Now, this video is being filmed after the initial foundations, but this was just something that a nice little frame shift will be really helpful as you go through this process or any process. The next video will walk you through the whole process on how to maximize your time here, engage with others, get the most out of your learning, talk a lot about how to actually learn, which we'll talk a little bit about in this video. You're going to see this video has the shield in the corner. That means it's like a core concept or a foundation. It is free. It is base knowledge, meaning these things are force multipliers. They will help everything else. So if you skip straight to higher tier stuff, you won't get as much out of it. And force multipliers are really important. We'll talk about that as well. There's a resource in this description that's just a quick overview of the concept of a force multiplier and why it's so important to come back to the basics. It makes the advanced stuff infinitely more effective. And here's our TGA tiers. We'll talk about that later. Right now, you don't have to worry about it. Just play with all the free stuff. Go through the process. Speaking of the process, the whole idea of any process, in theory, is to get you from where you are to where you want to be, right? From where you are to where you want to be. So we're going to start with this quote from Warren Buffett. Someone is sitting in the shade right now because somebody planted a tree a long time ago. And people don't like this. It's kind of like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is now. And it implies it's going to take a really long time for you to get what you want. And that may be true. It may not be true. It depends on what you want, right? But the process of understanding if I want a tree, I need to plant it and cultivate it is really important. And so we can't look at trees and go, man, I wish I had one of those. Unless we're going to get into the process, which we'll talk about here. If we do stare at a tree and decide, man, I really want one of those, and you have a very strong desire to have one, desire is very dangerous, by the way, and you just stare at your neighbor's tree every day. It's like staring at the finish line. You're not warming up. You're not training. You're not running. You're just staring at the finish line, stressing out about how far away it is, right? And that hyper-focus, believe it or not, the hyper-focus on a goal or an outcome actually decreases the probability and the ease of which you can reach that goal. So goals are important. Outcomes are important. We have our solvable problem, which is a few videos from now. But it cannot be our primary focus day to day. It's also a frequency of exposure thing, which I will put in the description if you want to jump ahead to frequency of exposure. So contrary to what everybody wants you to believe, hyper-focusing on a goal is like staring at a finish line and just stressing all the time. Stress, anxiety, you're not getting any closer to it. You're just staring at it. And even if you are getting closer, the relative change isn't obvious because you're spending so much time staring at it, right? And an outcome bias, which is just the idea that you're not successful until you reach an outcome. It completely ignores the process, getting better at the process. Like if you say, I'm not successful until I hit a game-winning grand slam in the World Series, then all of that stress, anxiety, and that motivation to do that is going towards dreaming about it, not preparing for the opportunity, which gives you the highest probability of actually doing it. So we sit and we say, I just wish I was there already. And I get it. I have many of those moments. We all do. So, man, it would just be nice if I had this already. And that's okay because that motivation can come from there. But then we have to turn it into a process. Otherwise, it pulls attention away from the process of getting there. If you're just, man, I just wish I had this kind of relationship or this kind of car or this much money in my bank account or this kind of athletic performance, every moment you're thinking about the goal or the outcome, you are pulling bandwidth away from the process of getting prepared to actually be in a position to achieve it. So we need a little bit of a frame shift as we go through this process, and this will make all the sense in the world. This is the shortcut number 1. It requires some base knowledge to understand shortcut number 2, so that'll be further on in the videos. You'll see shortcut number 2, which really breaks it down for you. And the frame shift is from being there to getting there. Yeah, I want to be there. Great. Now we have to immediately shift into the process of getting there. From being good to getting good. Man, I wish I was good at this. This will keep you up at night. If you wake up every day and say, man, I'm not happy until I'm good at piano, you are going to be unhappy for many months or many years. If you can wake up and say, it'd make me happy to get better at piano, you can be happy every day. Okay, you get dopamine every day, which drives your motivation to actually do it better. A tiny frame shift, not I want to be good at it already, but I want to get better at it, because you can get better at something every day. You can win every day, and the finish line will start to come to you. From being rich to getting good at acquiring wealth, those are very different frame shifts. I wish I was rich. Yeah, enjoy it. Get in line. But the people that are actually getting wealthy are the ones that are saying, what is the process of learning how to acquire wealth? That process is entirely dependent on personal preferences. Some people are willing to do some things, some people aren't, and that's fine. But the process is getting good, not being there, getting there, not being good, getting good, et cetera, et cetera. So I already used this example, but if you want to hit a game-winning grand slam, you can't just sit around and hope that it happens. You can't wish for it really, really hard. And even if you do play baseball and you go pro, you still don't get to choose if the bases are loaded when you come up to bat. The highest probability that you hit a game-winning grand slam is that every day you focus on getting better, preparing for such an opportunity. It may never come, but through the process, you might build a phenomenal career anyway. Hey, being a New York Times bestseller is very similar. New York Times is a ton of politics. What you do have control over, though, is can you get really good at writing books? So it's not, I want a New York Times bestseller. That'll drive you nuts. Even if you achieve it, you're going to hate your life leading up to that point. Right? I can't be happy until I reach this. But if you can frame shift to, I want to become a better writer, the best writer I could possibly be, you can actually be successful every day. Now, through this process, you are more likely to actually write a New York Times bestseller. It's like staring at the finish line. You're not going to win a race staring at the finish line. No Olympic athlete in any sport is staring at the scoreboard at all times or staring at the finish line at all times, because the process of scoring points or the process of running fast is what actually gets them the outcome they want. So the process is all about developing skills, finding leverage, understanding force multipliers. There's a link to force multipliers in here as well. Understanding randomness and sequencing. Okay, sequencing is just, if you want to be a great writer, you might want to master the skill of typing first. So there's an order of operations that make it more likely for you to develop a strong process. If you want to, whatever you want to learn a whole bunch of skills. You want to be really well-rounded. Well, learning how to learn first will multiply your efforts, your subsequent efforts on everything else you try to learn. So that's just sequencing. Okay. And constantly adjusting your own skills. If you're staring at the finish line, you're not making sure that, you're taking the right steps. If you're staring at the scoreboard, you're not cognizant of maybe your mechanics of your throw are a little bit off. So we want to constantly adjust our own skills, and we can't do that if we are obsessed staring at the outcome all the time. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, the Guardian Academy is designed to help you develop all of these skills, these foundational skills. You can go through it in whatever order you want. All that's explained in the next video and through the foundational series. But it is sequenced in a way where it's the biggest force multipliers first. So, for example, if you can accept that process is important, and I'll tell you what the shortcut is shortly. If you can accept that this is actually the shortcut, then everything you do after that will be more effective, okay? Because the process is the shortcut. It always has been, it always will be. If there was a more reliable shortcut, that would become the process. So reliable shortcuts become process. The process is the shortcut. Hope that makes sense. So if you can accept that or choose to suspend your belief otherwise for a short amount of time, then you won't skip steps in the Guardian Academy. By not skipping steps, you'll get better results. See, so it's a force multiplier. That's how the whole curriculum is built, is if it's done in order, it multiplies each lesson multiplies the effectiveness of the subsequent lesson. Okay? So again, the process is the shortcut. I put some resources in the description that you can read, listen, watch, and then go on to the 6-word update. It says 6WU and learning, because that is the next step in the process.